Part 51. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 501. What a big tone, the Flame Dragon Emperor sneered. Are you Zhang Zizai? It seems that Feng Xiaoao has also arrived, right? Guzun stood up. He knew the details of a young man at a glance. Him. He didn't come, Zhang Zizai said. Then, how dare you be so bold? You are no longer the son of the ancient gods. Do you know that your majesty's Princess Shenxiao is already the holy maiden of the heavenly dragon? Yuzun said angrily. Of course I know. I am happier than you when I heard about this. She is more worthy of me with such an identity, right? Zhang Zizai said with a smile. How dare you, Guzun said angrily. Two venerables, this kid is weird, help me take him down. The Flame Dragon Emperor was actually a little nervous. That's why they took action directly. Your Majesty, don't worry. He can't cause any trouble. Feng Xiaoao may not be able to help him. Now Zhang Zizai can only rely on himself. Don't let him fool you. Do it. 3 Tianyuan realm masters, 2 of whom are equivalent to the strength of the Holy Spirit servant, actually attacked Zhang Zizai, a junior. Zhang Zizai, I didn't expect that I would have a chance to turn over. No one will protect you. This time, don't even think about leaving here. The Flame Dragon Emperor and the 2 venerables surrounded them, sneering. Seeing them being besieged, people became nervous again. They are young after all. How can these 3 be so shameless? Without Zhang Yunting, it is too difficult for the 2 young men to fight this tyrant. What's more, this tyrant has helpers. At this moment, there are too many people who are worried about their brothers. It's just that they didn't see that even so, they were still calm. Because when the 3 people took action, suddenly a figure appeared beside Zhang Zizai. They seemed to appear out of thin air, more than 20 people, instantly blocking Zhang Zizai's way. Originally, the 2 brothers were just like a small hill that could be trampled at will, but at this moment, they suddenly became an insurmountable mountain. The Flame Dragon Emperor and the 2 Dragon Guardians who came to kill were stunned instantly. Under the gaze of the crowd, they were instantly surrounded by more than 20 people, and then they were killed. In a blink of an eye, 3 people spurted blood and fell to the ground, and could only crawl on the ground. But they were still caught by the people around Zhang Zizai, and they were tightly controlled and pressed in front of Zhang Zizai, making them kneel down. Master Fu, how to deal with it? Zheng Qinkan controlled the Flame Dragon Emperor and asked indifferently. People clearly saw that these top powerhouses who suddenly appeared had great respect for Zhang Zizai. What on earth is going on? People were stunned and surprised. On the royal side, there were still a few people rushing up, such as the 3 Dragon Kings and Xiang Liuchhan and others, but Zhang Zizai's random talisman general made these people lie on the ground, crying out in pain. For a while, almost all the people on the royal side were wiped out. The gap is too big. These terrifying strong men crushed the Flame Dragon Emperor and others, and looked loyal to Zhang Zizai. Where did they come from? Not only the Flame Dragon Emperor and others were stunned, but also the onlookers. Zheng Qinkan, the master of the Living Spirit Talisman Hall. You dare to touch him? He is the father of the Tianlong Saint Girl. Guzun recognized Zheng Qinkan, who was in the Tianlong Holy Dynasty. That was my previous identity. Now, I am the Talisman General of the Life and Death Talisman Section, Zheng Qinkan said lightly. The Flame Dragon Emperor was already frightened by a group of strong men. Life and Death Talisman Sect, the ancient venerable looked uncertain. He said, Life and Death Talisman Sect, why did you attack the father of the heavenly dragon Saint Girl? There is really no need to provoke us. You are going to kill our Life and Death Talisman Master, can't we do it? Tianya, who was standing next to Zhang Zizai, smiled slightly. Life and Death Talisman Master, the 2 venerables' minds were blank. When they were stunned, Zhang Zizai stood in front of the Flame Dragon Emperor. He said, "You guessed wrong. I am indeed not the son of the ancient gods, but now there are more people supporting me than before. I came back this time to avoid you causing me more trouble. I am ready to solve you once and for all. It seems that you are really powerful. I still underestimated you. But, Zhang Zizai, if you dare to touch me, Shen Xiao will never let you go." The Flame Dragon Emperor was frightened by these strong men. Now he can only think that the power behind Zhang Zizai is very strong and his status is very high. First, do you think I'm afraid of her? Second, she is extremely disappointed in you. Do you think she will avenge you? Zhang Zizai's 2 points made the Flame Dragon Emperor completely stunned. Especially the second point, which hit the heart. "Ye Fu Wang, destroy him," Zhang Zizai said to Ye Dongyang with cold eyes in the spotlight. "Ye Fu Wang, you are also Ye Dongyang, the Karma Fire Fu Wang." Guzun finally remembered his identity and trembled even more. A Fu Wang is equivalent to the existence of the clan king of their Tianlong Sheng dynasty. He actually listened to Zhang Zizai's orders. Guzun trembled. "Okay." Ye Dongyang stood in front of the Flame Dragon Emperor. "Zhang Zizai, you dare to touch me? You're dead." The Flame Dragon Emperor was completely panicked. He didn't expect that even the Tianlong Saint girl didn't dare to use it, but Zhang Zizai was not afraid. As soon as he finished speaking, his screams shook the earth. Ye Dongyang used a talisman to directly destroy his cultivation, and he became a useless person from then on. That is, the magic talisman that disperses power. Very scary. Countless people heard the desperate scream of the Flame Dragon Emperor. It's so satisfying. This devil who killed 100,000 people finally paid the price. This chapter is not over yet, please click the next page to continue reading. People spread the news and treated Zhang Zizai like a god. The Yanlong royal family, princes, and ministers, knelt on the ground, their faces full of tears, their hearts full of fear. They were completely defeated. The powerful people around Zhang Zizai were so terrible that they exceeded their imagination. This day was destined to be a day of change for the Yanlong dynasty. Zhang Zizai had already abolished the Yanlong emperor. Next, how Zhang Junjian would bring new life to this land depended on his own ability. As a brother, he naturally had to give him the opportunity to realize his ambitions. The Yanlong emperor fell softly to the ground, staring at Zhang Zizai at this young man with a dull look. The day he first met him, he would not have thought of everything today. How to deal with these two people, Ye Dongyang asked, with 2 more magic talismans in his hand. "We are the dragon guardians of Tianlong. If you dare to touch us, you will pay the price," said Guzuns in fear. "Father of Tianlong Saint, I am useless. Am I still afraid of you?" Zhang Zizai asked with a smile. They were so trembling that they couldn't answer. "But I have a question for you." Zhang Zizai's words finally made them feel relieved. It seems that Zhang Zizai can still give them a way to live. "Back then, Shen Xiao and Ling Xian followed you to the Yanlong Saint clan, right?" he said to Guzuns. Yes, Guzuns nodded. In front of the dispersing magic talisman, he was really honest. "Then what?" "I gave them to Yuzuns as disciples. They worked hard." Guzuns said. "Then why did Shen Xiao kill the Holy Sun?" Zhang Zizai asked. "That's because, the Holy Sun likes them and wants them to be concubines, but they don't want to." Yuzun said timidly. "You forced them, right?" Zhang Zizai asked. "They didn't dare to speak. I guess you came here not because Shen Xiao asked you to help her father, but because you were afraid and came to please her father, right?" Zhang Zizai asked. They acquiesced. They came here out of fear of crime. Because they had forced their sisters back then. Shen Xiao escaped and went to Zhelanjiayuan. "Where is Ling Xian?" Zhang Zizai asked. "She escaped with him and also entered Zhelanjiayuan." "Then what?" "She didn't come out." Only the holy maiden of Tianlong came out. Zhang Zizai took a deep breath. It seemed that Princess Lingxian was in a bad situation. I heard from the holy maiden of Tianlong that she seemed. Seemed what? Seemed, dead in there. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 502. When Guzuns finished his last sentence, Zhang Zizai was silent for a long time. His eyes were melancholy. There were too many of her appearances and stories in his memory. In this Yanlongxiu, it seemed that her shadow still existed. Lingyanzai in the imperial city, where she grew up alone, she left in a hurry at that time, and maybe her swing was still there. On the day of offering sacrifices to the gods, he almost married her. In his memory, she was full of her confused look, but after she killed the crown prince Longyun, she actually found the goal of life. Say it again. Zhang Zizai's eyes were filled with endless coldness. Tianlong Saint seemed to have said that she died in Zilongjiyuan. Guzun said timidly. He didn't expect that he would be frightened by a younger generation. He lost the status of the son of the ancient gods, but now he seems to have gained a higher status in the life and death talisman section. Talisman Master, it means that he has also inherited the 6 great divine talismans. Guzuns and Yuzuns looked at each other, and their hearts were still in extreme shock. Zhang Zizai felt as if something important was lost in his heart, and he felt inexplicably uncomfortable. I remember that later, she seemed to like him. If it weren't for Juxian, he might have been able to go on with her, because Zhang Zizai felt sorry for her. So, she had left this world a long time ago. He felt a little resentful. If you hadn't forced them, they wouldn't have been forced to the point where they could only kill and escape, and she wouldn't have died, right? He gritted his teeth, his voice a little cold. People only saw him surrounded by strong men, high above, even the flame dragon emperor fell, and the 2 strong men around him were completely subdued, but they didn't know that Zhang Zizai was a little manic now. This has nothing to do with us. It's the Holy Sun who likes them, and we can't do anything about it, and the Holy Sun has paid the price in the end, Yuzun said hurriedly. They are old Jianghu people, how could they not know that Zhang Zizai was very angry about the death of Princess Lingxian? It is necessary to shirk responsibility. You said it's okay, so it's okay. Zhang Zizai knew how difficult it would be for the 2 of them to go to that place without support. Zhang Zizai didn't believe that the 2 dragon guardians didn't force them. He said to Yedongyang, King Yefu, abolish them too. Hearing this, the 2 were shocked. Zhang Zizai, we are the dragon guardians of the Yanlong Holy Clan. It's different from Longyin. If you abolish Longyin, maybe only the Tianlong Saint will trouble you, but you attack us? Our Yanlong Holy Clan will definitely cause trouble for your Life and Death Fu sect. You, the Life and Death Fu sect, which has been defeated for many years, dare to compete with our Tianlong Holy Dynasty, Guzun said angrily. You, the Life and Death Fu sect, dare to touch our Tianlong Holy Dynasty, Yuzun struggled hard. Abolish them, which is equivalent to abolishing the 2 holy servants of the divine section. The forces behind them will definitely react. What do you think? Zhang Zizai asked Tianya and Yedongyang. You are the talisman master, so naturally you can do as you wish, Yedongyang said. Then it's useless, Zhang Zizai said directly. If that girl really left, Zhang Zizai would naturally take her last breath. She still wanted to find her parents. What a pity. Zhang Zizai, Guzuns didn't expect him to be so bold. He even said lightly, then it's useless. Moreover, Yedongyang received the order and stood in front of them with the dispersing power magic talisman in his hand. At this time, Yedongyang and Tianya suddenly stopped, turned their heads to the west, and said, Talisman Master, there are strong men coming. There are quite a few, Tianya added. Strong men, the strong men they are talking about are definitely not the level of Guzuns and the 2 men. Zhang Zizai remembered that 3 of the 4 Hades of the underworld palace had been to the great Zhongwang city. Could it be that the people of the underworld palace have come again? The people of Yanlongxiu were all watching Zhang Zizai's final judgment of the two strong men. Suddenly, they heard some movement in the west. Many people looked over there and saw a golden warship, shining like the sun, flying in the sky. The front of the warship was a huge dragon head, which was clearly a dragon boat. Its size was similar to the origin of the divine sect, and it was enough to accommodate tens of thousands of people. It's the Tianlong of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty, Ye Dongyang said. The people of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty may have a clan king. There are 5 holy clans in the Tianlong Holy Dynasty, and the Yanlong Holy Clan is one of them. The clan kings of the 5 holy clans, also known as clan ancestors, are the kings of the 5 holy clans. Their status is second only to the Holy Dragon Emperor. Their strength is unfathomable and they are all close to the existence of the first god. The Tianlong warship flew over the Yanlongxiu and stopped at the Huangguo Gate. According to people's comments, a total of more than 20 people came down from it. These people have a strong aura, with a very obvious dragon totem aura. All of them are dragon totems. The dragon totem is the totem of the supreme beast. It is born with a king's aura and can crush the beasts. The appearance of this group of people has indeed brought pressure to this world. Tianya frowned slightly, obviously seeing an acquaintance. Zhang Zizai glanced and found that there were at least 3 strong men comparable to Ye Dongyang, which meant that 3 of the 5 clan kings of the Tianlong Saint clan might have appeared. However, Zhang Zizai's eyes could hardly fall on these 5 clan kings, because the girl in the center wearing a light golden dragon robe was too eye-catching. Déjà vu. The most familiar stranger? She seemed to look different. Her facial features were the same as before, but her temperament had changed dramatically. It was hard to imagine that such a dignified, domineering, noble, holy, and elegant woman would be the impulsive one who was at a loss in front of him. With the halo of the Holy Maiden of Tianlong, she seemed to have the temperament of the Holy Dynasty. Her every move was equivalent to the innate aura of the Holy King, but she did not appear arrogant. She looked pure and natural, as still as a mountain, and her eyes were convincing. To be honest, she was really much more beautiful, and her original temperament was fully excavated. And it might be because she practiced better skills, got a lot of inheritance, or because of the evolution of the totem, she had a mysterious color. It looked like she was no longer the little girl who came to provoke him and was held down and kissed by him. However, just based on her Zayu, Zhang Zizai would remember her for a lifetime. 3 clan kings have arrived, namely the Flame Dragon Saint King, the Golden Dragon Saint King, and the Sky Dragon Saint King, Tianya said in Zhang Zizai's ear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 503. The 5 major holy clans of Tianlong are respectively the Golden Dragon Holy Clan, the Wooden Dragon Holy Clan, the Water Dragon Holy Clan, the Flame Dragon Holy Clan and the last Tianlong Holy Clan. The Heavenly Dragon Saint Clan is located in the center of the Holy Dynasty. It is the thick soil in the center. Most of its totem dragons can control the earth. They were once called the Earth Dragon Saint Clan or Earth Dragon Saint Clan. However, the ancestors felt that this name was not powerful enough and also called heaven and earth as one, so they changed their name to the Sage Clan of Heavenly Dragon. The Heavenly Dragon Saint Clan is the largest clan in the Holy Dynasty. Most of the Holy Dragon Emperors in history were born in the Heavenly Dragon Saint Clan. After changing their name to the Heavenly Dragon Saint Clan, they also absorbed many special divine dragon totems to strengthen the clan. Today's Holy Dragon Emperor is from the Heavenly Dragon Saint Clan. The Holy Dragon Emperor of the Holy Dynasty is beyond the 5 major holy clans. No matter which saint clan he comes from, after becoming the Holy Dragon Emperor, he needs to stand from the perspective of the entire holy dynasty and no longer only care about the prosperity of one clan. But even so, the Tianlong Saint clan, which has produced the most holy dragon emperors, can still guarantee its prosperity. At least it will be like this for the next 1,000 years, because this time, by chance, the Yanlong Saint clan lost Shen Xiao. When she returned from the ancestral dragon abyss, she participated in the final election of the heavenly dragon saint son as a celestial dragon saint clan. She is now considered a member of the Tianlong Saint clan, not the Yanlong Saint clan. Now the Tianlong Holy King of today's Dragon Saint clan is the son of this generation of Holy Dragon Emperor. Now Shen Xiao is following him. She is equivalent to the son of the ancient god. This status is below the three kings of the Dragon clan, unlike Zhang Zizai who is above King Fu. This party landed from the Tianlong and appeared in front of Zhang Zizai and the others. The exchange of eyes made the atmosphere become intense instantly. Holy King, they want to destroy us. Save us quickly, the ancient venerable said quickly. Sage of Heavenly Dragon. This Zhang Zizai has destroyed your father, Venerable Yu's voice was stern. They never expected that at this desperate moment, rescue troops would appear. It was like a dream. Simply overjoyed. Even the Flame Dragon Emperor raised his head with all his strength at this time, tears bursting from his eyes, and shouted, Fu-er, avenge your father. Kill this Zhang Zizai. The arrival of the savior without warning was a huge surprise, and the Yan Dragon Emperor finally had room to pour out his grief and anger. This was considered a confrontation between the top lineups of the origin continent. When Zhang Zizai looked at Shen Xiao, she was also looking at herself. When their eyes collided, she was calm, with some unspeakable emotions in it. Before the three clan kings could speak, Shen Xiao opened her red lips and said, Can you give them two to me? This sentence was said to Zhang Zizai. She was discussing with Zhang Zizai. What will you do? Zhang Zizai asked. Do you know about Ling Xian? There was some sadness in her eyes. Zhang Zizai nodded. People did not expect that when the two teams met, it was the two young people who spoke first. I have to avenge Yan'er. After all, they killed Yan'er, she said calmly. That's it, then I'll give it to you. Sure enough, this ancient venerable is Venerable Yu. He came here to please the Yanlong Emperor. They were afraid that they would be killed by her if they stayed in the Tianlong Holy Dynasty, but they couldn't. Unexpectedly, she chased him here. They knew the danger from the time she was named the Heavenly Dragon Saint. After listening to the conversation between Zhang Zizai and Shen Xiao, the excited faces of Venerable Gu and Venerable Yu suddenly stiffened. Revenge. This is just out of the wolf's den and into the tiger's den again. Zhang Zizai just wants to destroy them, but Princess Shen Xiao, she wants revenge. They were horrified to think of what would happen. Holy King. Their affairs have nothing to do with us. She was just an unknown person at that time. I brought her to the Yanlong Holy Clan. It was the Holy Son who liked them and asked me to arrange it. How can you blame me for this? I am the Dragon Protector, I can serve the Holy Dynasty, and I should not be punished, the ancient master said excitedly. I'm even more innocent. He brought the person to me, and I didn't do anything. Venerable Yu said nervously. You are right, what are you doing hiding here? Among the three clan kings, there was an old man. He had a pair of fiery red eyes and his body was filled with extremely scorching heat. This person is the leader of the Yanlong Holy Clan, the Yanlong Holy King. There must be something wrong with him, so he would think of a way to remedy it. Judging from their attitude, this matter was left to Shen Xiao himself. Zhang Zizai signaled to let them go. Venerable Gu and Venerable Yu were freed, but their faces became even more livid, and they hurriedly crawled to Shen Xiao's eyes on their knees, and kept saying kowtow. I was wrong. I was blind at first, so I asked the Heavenly Dragon Saint to give me a chance. I will definitely serve the Heavenly Dragon Saint from now on. I can do it too. Holy King, please spare our lives. After all, How did we know that the heavenly dragon saint would have such a good fortune, Venerable, you cried. Speaking of which, the heavenly dragon saint's creation has something to do with us, the ancient Venerable said eagerly. That's right. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today. Shen Xiao looked at them calmly, suddenly smiled and said, but Yanner is waiting for me to ask for my life from you. This sentence basically sentenced them to death. Holy King, the ancient Venerable was desperate, I have served the holy dynasty for so many years, and I have no merit. The flame dragon Saint King stepped forward and stood in front of them, saying, of course you have made contributions, but you are not young anymore. You need to know the cause and effect, and you need to see the reality clearly. The reality is that she is now the holy maiden of the heavenly dragon, and you have harmed her. Tell me, how will the holy dynasty choose between you and the holy maiden of the heavenly dragon? This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. This is not fair. This, before the ancient Venerable finished speaking, the palm of the flame dragon Saint King was as fast as burning, and suddenly covered his head. With a buzzing sound, the ancient Venerable was burned to ashes by the flames while screaming. Saint King! You, Venerable, you trembled. She stood up frantically and wanted to escape, but the palm of the flame dragon Saint King had already covered her back, and also blasted her clean. Zhen'er, you have dealt with them, is it okay? The flame dragon Saint King asked. A holy clan lost 2 dragon guardians, which is a big loss. Shen Xiao nodded slightly and said, thank you. You're welcome. The flame dragon Saint King smiled slightly, as if the killing that just happened was insignificant. However, too many onlookers simply couldn't understand. Why did the rescuer come, but he killed his own people? All this was the will of Princess Shen Xiao. People understood that Zhang Zizai was different, and this Princess Shen Xiao was also different. People looked at the Flame Dragon Emperor. He was abolished. Would Shen Xiao avenge him? Zhen'er, Zhang Zizai is so cruel. He ruined my life. You must avenge your father. Zir, the Flame Dragon Emperor used up his last strength to talk to Shen Xiao. Zhen'er, mother misses you so much, please save your father. The new queen staggered down and stood in the distance. Because there were too many strong people around her, she didn't dare to get close. Are the two teams going to start a duel? Many people began to walk back because they were worried about being affected by the battle. What no one expected was that Princess Shen Xiao seemed not to hear what Emperor Yanlong said to her mother. She whispered to Zhang Zizai, can we talk? Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 504. Fu'er. The Flame Dragon Emperor was crying and howling on the ground. He didn't expect that what came back was her words. From beginning to end, she never glanced at this man. It was as if this person did not exist in her world. She didn't even look at her mother. You guys have a casual chat, Zhang Zizai said to Tianya and the others, asking them to chat with the clan king on the opposite side. Then he got a flying talisman and said to Shen Xiao, come up here, I will take you for a ride. I want to go too. Lingdang's little eyes rolled, and she hugged Zhang Zizai's arm, trying to throw her down. Zhang Zizai now knew that there would be trouble after having a daughter. You don't mind, do you? He asked Shen Xiao. It's very cute, I don't mind. Shen Xiao glanced at Lingdang, with a slight smile on his lips. She easily sat on the flying talisman. It was too noisy here to talk, so he flew into the sky, flew away from the crowd, and flew away into the distance. Shen Xiao sat quietly next to her, the wind blowing her long hair, and she became much quieter, as if she was very indifferent. However, the fragrance on her body has not changed, it is fresh and natural, still girlish. After breaking away from the crowds below, the front is much wider. Tianya and the others will chat with the people from the Tianlong Holy Dynasty, so he doesn't need to worry about it. They haven't seen each other for many years, and there is always something to talk about. On this flying talisman, except for the bell that was hiding in Zhang Zizai's arms and secretly looking at Shen Xiao, there were only two of them. The world was quiet, except for the whistling wind. She looked at the bell, looking a little dazed, and asked, "How many years have we not seen each other?" 3 years. Or 4 years, Zhang Zizai said. You already have children, and it always feels like you haven't seen each other for half a lifetime. Does time ever go by so slowly? She asked in confusion. It's not that you are slow, it's that you have experienced too many things, Zhang Zizai said. Under the sunshine, she smiled, her smile was bright, and I had to say, she looked better than before. The wind blew the clothes on her chest, revealing her snow-white skin. Zhang Zizai took a look and said to himself, yes, there is a ditch. What made him depressed was that Lingdang's gaze was also there. The father and daughter met each other's gazes. Zhang Zizai felt a little embarrassed for no reason. Looking at Lingdang's "I understand you" smile, he felt that this girl was really amazing. Are you the student of the 9 Immortals priest master? Shen Xiao seemed not to notice the embarrassment between the father and daughter, and asked softly. Yes. It's a bit unexpected, Zhang Zizai said. For him, the bell was really unexpected. It's good. I heard about what happened to you in Shenzhen, but there are so many versions that it's hard to tell the truth from the false. But I guess she should be a special existence. The Shenzhen thought she was a divine cursor and wanted to use her life. Unexpectedly, she was the reincarnation of an ancient god. She happened to be reincarnated successfully. Now she has returned to the divine realm. As a result, the Shenzhen lost the master of the heavenly god palace. The story is probably that simple, Zhang, the way of freedom. It sounds simple, but it must have been difficult at the time. However, it was finally successful. Congratulations to you. You have really good vision. You managed to get even the ancient gods to sleep with you. That feeling is different from ordinary people, Shen Xiao pouted. It sounds like a little unhappy. Don't say such things in front of children, Zhang Zizai said with shame. Besides, I haven't met any other ordinary people. When talking about ordinary people, he glanced at Shen Xiao. What are you thinking about? Shen Xiao glared at him, then changed the subject and asked, then, I just heard that you left Shenzhen. Why did you join the Life and Death Talisman sect again? What a coincidence. Zhang Zizai looked at her with hot eyes and said, you know, when we were in Kirishima, you used that jade to harm me. Do you know how I can prevent you from wiping out your descendants? Did you get the talisman of immortality in Kirishima? She was indeed smart. Otherwise, I would have killed you long ago. Speaking of this matter, Zhang Zizai is still angry to this day. Although she was young and too impulsive at that time and too eager to realize her dream, this kind of thing would not be easy for any man. It's even intolerable. Thinking about it, I want to strangle her to death. Sorry. She lowered her head and said. There's no point in apologizing for this. Sooner or later, I have to ask you to pay it back. Even though you are a woman, I can still make you cut off your descendants, Zhang Zizai said. I don't care, I don't plan to have children, she said. When Zhang Zizai was speechless, Lingdang suddenly said, Auntie, you can have a little brother with my father for me to play with. Shut up. Zhang Zizai quickly held her down. Auntie, I want to eat. Grandma. Lingdang was anxious. She had been staring at her for a long time, feeling that Zhang Zizai was trying to restrict her. Shen Xiao's face was filled with astonishment and he was at a loss. Haha, no discipline, Zhang Zizai said, a little embarrassed. So cute. She could only try to smile, stretched out her hand, gently touched Lingdang's head, and said, Auntie doesn't like your father, and she doesn't have a grandma, you know. Huh, Lingdang was disappointed. He instantly lost interest in her and became listless. Well, tell me about you. How did you live there? I really didn't expect it. I thought that with your ability, you could only be ordinary in the Holy Dynasty. How could you be like this? I'm impressed by the level. Zhang Zizai changed the subject. I knew you looked down on me. Shen Xiao rolled his eyes at him, then lowered his head and said, it was fate. I was forced to do it. There was no dignity in that place, so I took a desperate path and regained my dignity. I regret it. If I could choose, I would like to stay here, because in this way, Yan'er would not die. Are there many troublesome things in Zilongjia? Seeing her heartache, Zhang Zizai was silent for a while. It was a life and death struggle. It was a miracle to survive. She gave me the chance to survive, otherwise, she might be sitting here talking to you. She definitely didn't want to talk about the details. In comparison, she personally experienced the things about Princess Lingxian, and she must be more sad than herself. It seems that you have suffered a lot to have the status you have today. Zhang Zizai looked at her with some respect. When he first heard that the Tianlong saint was her, he thought it was impossible. Now she is in front of him, much more mature and vicissitudes, Zhang Zizai no longer has any doubts. In the future, will you always be in the life and death Fu sect? Shen Xiao asked. Come find me when you have time, Zhang Zizai said. Can't you come find me? Of course. Where? Tianlong Holy City. No problem. Go back, we can't keep the clan kings waiting for too long, she said. Zhang Zizai turned the flying talisman and walked back. In the Yanlong ruins, he suddenly saw a small mountain and forest below. Nalan Mountain. I remember Nalan Mountain, Li Rengxiang. Shen Xiao lowered his head, his face slightly red. She was much more reserved. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 505. When I returned to Huangguo Gate, everyone was still here. Shen Xiao landed gently, walked to the camp of Tianlong Holy Dynasty, and said, 3 holy kings, my business has been done, and I can go back. Yes, they nodded, and then their eyes fell on Zhang Zizai, and asked, Zhen'er, are you good friends with the Master of Life and Death Talisman? Master of Life and Death Talisman, Shen Xiao was slightly startled. He hasn't told you yet. He just got the Wuxian Talisman in the Wanfu Club, and inherited the Wuxian Talisman and the Immortal Talisman at the same time. Now he is the Master of Life and Death Talisman, which is rarely seen in the Fuhe. For 10,000 years the person who spoke was the son of the Holy Dragon Emperor, Tianlong Holy King. He was younger than the Yanlong Holy King, his hair was still black, and he looked like a middle-aged man, wearing a golden robe, solemn and meticulous. You didn't say it, I didn't expect you to have such a high status, Shen Xiao smiled. It's all fake, not that powerful, Zhang Zizai said. He turned around and said to the Heavenly Dragon Saint King, we are indeed good friends, do you have any objections? Of course not, our holy dynasty and Fuhai have always had a good relationship. The Heavenly Dragon Saint King smiled faintly and said, Master Fu, come to the holy dynasty often in the future and give me and others the opportunity to entertain you. No problem, everyone is also welcome to visit Fuhai, Zhang Zizai said. In that case, we will take our leave first. The Heavenly Dragon Saint King greeted everyone and wanted to board the Tianlong again and leave. Zhen'er. The Flame Dragon Emperor shouted weakly and dully, his eyes full of despair, but he seemed to be non-existent in the world of Shen Xiao. Just at this time, she walked in front of Sufei. Zhen'er. Sufei's face was full of tears, and she wanted to hug her, but before she stepped forward, she was gently pushed away by Shen Xiao. No need, take care of yourself. After Shen Xiao finished speaking, he boarded the Tianlong with the strong men of the Holy Dynasty. Zhang Zizai and Ling Dang waved goodbye to her. She smiled slightly, stretched out her hand, and said hello to them, then turned around and walked into the Tianlong. Buzz. The Tianlong took off, flew into the sky, and headed towards the Tianlong Holy Dynasty in the west. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the sky. She didn't care about the Yanlong dynasty at all. She had no attachment to this world. This was no longer her world. The Yanlong emperor lay on the ground in pain, his face full of tears, covering his chest, his face full of despair. If I had known this, why did I do it in the first place? You are very pitiful now, but when you decide to use the lives of the people in exchange for what you want, everything is doomed to you. Compared with retribution, he was more desperate that Shen Xiao never looked at him from beginning to end. Get out! Get out! The Yanlong emperor roared miserably. Zhang Zizai was too lazy to pay attention to him. Brother, I'll take you back. Zhang Junjian could handle how the Yanlong dynasty would develop in the future. Thanks to you this time, Zhang Junjian said. We are brothers, don't try to be so tricky, Zhang Zizai said with a smile. That's the truth, but I still want to say something. What? You pervert. Haha. Zhang Zizai smiled. But when he saw the imperial city in the distance, he was still a little depressed. He missed the ignorant girl. Will she be lonely sleeping in Xuanhuan? Wait for me. He wanted to go to the imperial city to take a look. Master Fu, is there something going on? Tianya asked. It's a delay, what's the matter? It's okay, you go and do it first, it's not too late to deal with it after you get it done. Zhang Zizai left alone again, but they took Zhang Junjian with them and followed behind. Zhang Zizai. After walking a few steps, someone behind him called him in a shrill voice. Something. Zhang Zizai looked at the Flame Dragon Emperor. Tell your father that I admit that he won, the Flame Dragon Emperor gritted his teeth. Isn't this obvious? Haha, I didn't expect that I would end up ruined by his hands. He laughed crazily. Zhang Zizai was too lazy to watch him go crazy. Zhang Zizai, he called himself again. Have you got anything to say? Zhang Zizai was a little impatient. In the future, be nicer to Yan'er. He burst into tears, his whole body twitching. You have. He was about to say that you are sick, but before he finished speaking, the Flame Dragon Emperor took out a short sword, stabbed it into his heart, and went straight to the back. Be nice to her, I'm sorry for her. His eyes were blurred, and he slowly fell to the ground. He committed suicide. People stared at all this in a daze. The sinner finally died, and ironically, he actually committed suicide in the end. The Flame Dragon royal family, princes and ministers all knelt on the ground, crying and wailing. Concubine Su lay on his body, crying like rain. I'm leaving. He brought this upon himself, so there's no need for pity. He thought that he could do anything he wanted when the sun and the moon were in the sky, but how could he know the law of cause and effect? He committed suicide not only because Zhang Zizai had abandoned him, but also because Shen Xiao had completely ignored him because of the matter at Desolate Heaven Pass. They entered the imperial city, and Zhang Zizai asked them to wait outside for a while he entered Lingyanzai. No one has been here for a long time. The irony is that because the last time someone came here was the night before he and Long Yan got married, there were still lights and decorations everywhere, and the word was posted everywhere. After she left, this place was completely abandoned, and no one was willing to clean it up. Zhang Zizai stood in the yard, his eyes staring at the broken but glued swing. In a daze, it seemed as if she was still sitting on it, waiting eagerly for her parents to return. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. From a child to an adult. It would be great if I could go to Xuanhuan and bring you back. It was as if someone poured bitter water into his heart. He stared at the swing for a while, then Tianya's voice came. Master Talisman, there is something that needs to be said. Only then did Zhang Zizai come back to his senses. He left here without disturbing everything here. What happened? We have a guess. You say. You see that the Tianlong came from the direction of the Tianlong holy city in the west. When it left, It also went to the west, right? Tianya asked. That's right. But do you think it's strange that the heavenly dragon saint came here and only dealt with 2 venerables? They have such a large formation and only come to deal with such a small matter? If she came all the way here for revenge, she would directly just come with Flame Dragon Saint King. Why do you need such a large formation? Are you overqualified? Tianya said. You mean, they should have other purposes? Zhang Zizai asked. Not only that, but they walked back when they left. They clearly didn't want us to know. Zhang Zizai thought for a while. I'm afraid this is the truth, but he said, what is their purpose? It is their holy dynasty's affairs. Is it appropriate for us to interfere? That's the truth. However, I think that with such a large lineup, 3 of the 5 clan kings, and so many dragon guardians, their purpose may be very big. If we also understand a little bit, there will be no harm at least. It's really inappropriate, we can just leave, Tianya said. You mean, following them? Well, let's take a look. I left a tracking charm on the body of a dragon guardian lord. Now I can confirm that after they circled around, they went east towards Kirishima. Kirishima. Zhang Zizai thought for a moment, nodded and said, let's go and see what they do. Dad, are you reluctant to be separated from that ant? Lingdang said. Don't talk nonsense. Zhang Zizai pinched her mouth, and the little one groaned, tears about to fall down again. Zhang Zizai arranged for a talisman to send Zhang Junjian back, and then the group followed him eastward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 506. It has been a while, the people of Tianlong Holy Dynasty must have gone far away. However, Tianya left a tracking talisman directly on one of them. The immortal talisman has many means, and he is sure that he will not be discovered by the other party, so Zhang Zizai and the others can follow slowly. They probably kept a distance of about half an hour. The other party seemed to be looking for a destination, so the speed was not fast. If necessary, they could catch up within a quarter of an hour. At this distance, there is basically no need to worry about the other party discovering them. After all, the vast East China Sea is endless. They are not going to Wuodao, but to the east, Tianya said after observing for a while on the flying talisman. What is there to go further east? Zhang Zizai asked. The end of the world, it is rumored, but I have never been there. Zhang Zizai looked at Ye Dongyang again, and he said he had never been there either. Legend has it that the end of the world is extremely far away. At this time, there is an endless sea with many source beasts in the sea. Few people are interested in exploring it. Those who have explored it don't seem to come back much. What is their purpose in going there? You will know if you follow them. The people of the Life and Death Talisman sect are driving flying talismans, which are much lighter than the Tianlong warship. Now the world is blue, and there is endless sea water in all directions, with no end. Talisman Master, how is the 5 elements subduing demon stick that the old Talisman Master gave you? I have practiced this lower grade Kun level battle tactics, and maybe I can give you some guidance, Ye Dongyang said. Time is too tight, so I can only take a peek at it, Zhang Zizai said. After the 10,000 talismans meeting, the old Talisman Master asked about Zhang Zizai's practice and gave him a lower grade Kun level battle tactics. Kun level battle tactics generally require Tianyuan realm to practice, but the old Talisman Master saw that Zhang Zizai had a very high comprehension ability, so he gave him a try. The universe, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the Kun level battle tactics are superior to the sun level battle tactics, and the power is naturally much stronger than the 9 heavenly tribulation thunderclaws, and naturally more complicated. The reason why the old talisman master gave him this stick technique is naturally because Zhang Zizai has been thinking about the black stick left by the violent ape recently. It is unknown where it got the totem magic weapon from. It is a bit worn out, and even the old talisman master can't tell the level. He only said that it is at least Kun level. In fact, the totem pattern of the stick is a bit similar to the living spirit pen and the dead spirit inkstone. It is already a bit broken and has lost some parts, resulting in incomplete efficacy. But there is a slight difference between the black stick and the two. The living spirit pen and the dead spirit inkstone have been around for too long, causing the totem pattern to disappear, but after Zhang Ziyi used it, he could activate the dim pattern bit by bit. The totem pattern of this black stick is damaged, which is irreversible destruction. Zhang Zizai originally had no intention of touching it, but he found that the material of this treasure was very good. Even the old talisman master said that it was a top-level spiritual ore. As for which kind it was, he himself could not tell. The top-level spiritual ore plus the broken blood-colored totem pattern can actually exert the lethality equivalent to the Kun-level totem weapon, and even have some special features that are even better. When Zhang Zizai held the black stick, the patterns on it would gradually connect with his body, and invisibly, it brought a certain increase in Zhang Zizai's strength. It was a state similar to a frenzy. He found that holding this black stick, his own fighting spirit would increase, and the whole person would be more violent. Although he would lose some of his sanity, his lethality would be even greater. This is why Zhang Zizai decided to try it. Seeing that he was studying the stick, the old talisman master took out a book called 5 Elements Demon Subduing Stick, which was one of his collections and happened to be suitable for Zhang Zizai, who could control many attributes. It's quite scary to be able to get a glimpse of the door in such a short time. Ye Dongyang sighed sincerely. Tianya's flying talisman can change to a very large size, and it is not a problem to practice on it. So in the strong wind of Canghai, Zhang Ziyi began to practice the 5 Elements Demon Subduing Stick in front of their predecessors. As Ye Dongyang, who has practiced it himself, he can indeed point out many problems and many things he doesn't understand. With the guidance of the predecessors, plus his amazing understanding, it is easy for him to integrate and understand. The 5 Elements Demon Subduing Stick is divided into 5 parts. They are Yejin, Shenmuo, Heavy Water, Minghuo, and How to. If the stick is crazy, it is naturally wild and domineering, but in fact, under the domineering, there are many meticulous places hidden. The 5 elements and 5 sticks can be split apart, and can also be combined together to form a sword formation similar to the 9 Palaces' heavenly sword art. This battle tactic emphasizes rough attacks with big openings and closings, which is very consistent with the temperament of the violent ape. Under one stick, the sky collapses and the earth cracks. This is the way of strength and fierceness. Zhang Zizai was good at explosive attacks, so he adapted to this kind of battle tactics very quickly. In the Kun-level battle tactics, there is a certain implication, which is said to be something that can only be understood at the Tianyuan realm. Before I understand the meaning, I can show more than 80% of the power of the 5 Elements Demon Subduing Stick, which is unprecedented, Ye Dongyang exclaimed. Those immortal talisman generals who just returned, such as Zheng Qinkan and others, now only have a loyal heart after seeing Zhang Zizai's talent and strength. When your beast talisman can be used, we will find you a 10th grade source beast to guard you at all times. Tianya has already made plans. It was a waste that the 2 talisman kings killed the violent ape last time. In the following days, Zhang Zizai continued to practice on this flying talisman. After several days, they never expected that the people of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty would go so far to the east. Where do Shen Xiao and the others want to go? Zhang Zizai squinted his eyes and looked ahead. It seemed that the further east he went, the deeper the sea became. Now the blue sky and the sea were completely integrated, as if they were trapped in a blue water ball. Zhang Zizai did not expect that the ocean east of the origin continent was so vast. I wonder how many source beasts there are under the sea. They stopped finally, Tianya said this one day before. There are some movements. It seems that they have found their destination. According to the original plan, they approached carefully to see what the people of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty wanted to do. If they need to get close, they must be careful. They removed the flying talisman and walked on the waves on the sea. The movement was very small, and most of their bodies were even hidden in the sea water. Half a quarter of an hour later, Zhang Zizai could already see the Tianlong in the distance. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 507. Tianya used a Kun-level talisman called the No Breath and No Shadow. This kind of immortal talisman can form a hidden range when they were in this spherical space. It was really difficult for the people who were obviously busy in the distance to find them. Almost everyone in the Tianlong Holy Dynasty was busy, only Shen Xiao stood on the Tianlong and watched. After all, she couldn't help. She stood on the side of the ship. She remembered that when she sent Zheyu, she was in that position, also on the East China Sea. Unexpectedly, they met again after a few years, still on the warship and the vast sea, but the beauty was no longer green. What are they doing? The totem talisman masters looked at the dragon totem owners. Zhang Zizai watched for a while. He found that they divided the people into two parts, led by two clan kings. One of them was the Flame Dragon Holy King, and the other was the Water Dragon Holy King. The Holy Dragon King stood in a fixed central position. He held a water blue bead in his hand. No one knew what it was. Now he was using his own power to surround the bead and activate the power in it. The two clan kings, along with other dragon guardians, rushed into the ocean. They took the Holy Dragon King as the core, one on the left and one on the right, and then began to push the sea water with great power. At the same time, the water blue bead also began to rotate. Try harder. Under the command of the Holy Dragon King, the two sides chased each other with him as the core. Their forward trajectory formed a source with the Holy Dragon King as the center. Boom! Soon, because the sea water was pushed, a sea vortex gradually formed. The center of the vortex was the position of the Holy Dragon King. Keep going. They continued to push the vortex, causing it to expand continuously, and the speed of rotation was very fast. For a moment, it seemed that the entire sea was turning, the waves were rolling, and a larger and larger vortex was expanding like the mouth of a giant beast. Only their dragon guardians could stabilize their bodies in such a rapid vortex. The surging waves were so overwhelming that they even soared 30 feet into the sky. Zhang Zizai estimated that even if he fell into it, he would be dizzy for a while. What are they doing? Take that blue bead and create a vortex. What is that blue bead? In the breathless and shadowless talisman, everyone looked at each other and saw the confusion in the eyes of others. It was obvious that they knew nothing about the behavior of the strong men of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty. Zhang Zizai glanced at Shen Xiao on the Tianlong. She stared at everything below, and was even a little nervous. Logically, her mission should be to practice. If it is not related to what happened here, she should not come here. After all, she can't help. Maybe, this bead is something she brought out from Xuanhuan, Zhang Zizai said. I think so too. In this case, they are likely to open a place, which may be an ancient relic or something left by the ancestors. It is basically certain that there are benefits, Ye Dongyang said. What about us? Tianya asked what Zhang Zizai meant. Keep reading and you will know, Zhang Zizai said. The other party worked very hard. Every person in the sea, whether it was the dragon guardian or the clan king, consumed a lot of power to create such a huge whirlpool in this vast sea. They were not afraid of making a noise, because there was no place for people here. Look at the center of the whirlpool. Soon, Zhang Zizai found the clues. Under the guidance of the rotation of the aqua blue bead, the water flow in the center of the vortex was originally turbulent, and now a hole began to appear, which became larger and larger. In about a quarter of an hour, the center of the vortex became a bottomless hole leading to the deep sea. The surrounding waves were still rotating, but the bottomless hole was very stable. It was like a passage to hell, and it was impossible to see how deep it was. "It's done," Tianlong Saint King said. The strong men just came out of the sea. They were pale and looked very tired, but their expressions were very excited. "Sure enough, according to this method, we found this place and opened this passage." "Tianlong Saint Girl, this time you can't be ignored," Tianlong Saint King said. Shen Xiao nodded slightly. She came down from above and gathered with all the strong men, all looking at the depths of this passage. "Will it be inside?" she asked. "It must be inside," Yanlong Saint King said. "Let's wait until the passage is more stable before we go down. We must pay attention to safety. It's too old inside, and there may be some strange things," Tianlong Saint King said. "Okay." These conversations further confirmed Zhang Zizai's guess. There must be treasures inside. The other party mobilized so many troops, which means the treasure is very important. "Want to fight for it?" Tianya asked. "Nonsense, no matter what, we have to see what it is," Zhang Zizai said. "Isn't Tianlong Saint Girl your lover, friend?" Tianya laughed. "In front of treasures, I don't recognize my relatives," Zhang Zizai laughed. About a quarter of an hour later, all of them entered it, and no one was left outside to guard. It seems that they are absolutely sure that there must be no competitors in this remote place. To be honest, if Zhang Zizai came here from a long distance, he would not think that there were other people here. Follow quietly. After they all went down for a while, they set off and came to the central passage of the vortex. Looking down, it was unfathomable, as scary as the throat of a giant beast. "What on earth is there?" Everyone followed quietly with doubts. After going down, Zhang Zizai found that there were water walls all around, and this passage was like an intestine. It was not straight, but winding and twisting, making people dizzy. That's why the people in front couldn't see someone following behind at a glance. If there was no such passage, just searching in this vast sea might never know the destination. After all, the vast sea is too big. Go forward all the way and keep a distance from the people in front. I heard their movement. Slow down. The two talisman kings warned in front. To be honest, our current strength is not their opponent, so we need to be more careful, Tianya said. After all, the other party has 3 clan kings. The strength of the 4 talisman kings of the life and death talisman sect, only Ye Dongyang himself can compete with the clan kings of the Holy Dynasty. Tianya is a little worse. Finally, Zhang Zizai saw it. At the bottom of the deepest part of this passage, there was a statue. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 508. That statue was a bit strange. It was a statue of a human body with a dragon head. A tall and burly man in armor had a dragon head. He held a sword in both hands, with the tip of the sword inserted under his feet. In addition to the dragon head, there was a dragon tail dragging behind him. Judging from his palms and soles, his body should have all the dragon scales, but they were hidden by the armor. Such a statue is not any statue of the divine sect, and there is no corresponding ancient god. Zhang Zizai remembered that there was a person who was somewhat similar to the statue, that is Princess Lingxian. When she killed the prince, she suddenly changed. That was about it. Now, a group of people from the Tianlong Holy Dynasty were talking around the dragon statue. The noise on the seabed was a bit loud, and they didn't dare to get too close, so they couldn't hear what they were saying. They started to act quickly, and actually took turns to attack the dragon statue. The 3 clan kings all used very tough means, almost going all out. Boom boom boom. The statue would not resist. Although its material was very hard, after they attacked for a while, the surface began to crack, and then the degree of cracking became larger and larger. Finally, at a certain moment, the entire dragon statue exploded. This statue, which had been sleeping in the distant sea for many years, was suddenly destroyed. At that time, it seemed as if the entire ocean was shaking. From the eyes of the people of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty, they didn't know what would happen next. Boom! The statue shattered, turned into fragments, and blasted everywhere. Then, it seemed that there was nothing. They were obviously a little stunned. At this moment, changes appeared. Suddenly, it seemed that the entire sea was shaking, and then it began to turn upside down. The channel they created suddenly collapsed at this time, and countless sea water rushed in. This is a very deep seabed. They used to rely on the channel to come and go freely. When the channel collapsed, the seabed waves caused by it were amazing. Zhang Ziyi was not prepared at all. For a moment, the terrifying waves completely engulfed them with a huge force. Talisman Master Tianya and Ye Dongyang both wanted to stabilize Zhang Ziyi, but the change came too fast. Under the sudden impact, Zhang Ziyi was blown away. Not to mention Zhang Ziyi, even those talisman generals were blown away by the waves in an instant. The sudden burst of sea water was secondary. The most important thing was that he didn't react at all. He was stunned and flew thousands of feet away. The only thing Zhang Ziyi reacted to was to hold Lingdang tightly. In fact, the sea water couldn't hurt them. It could only completely disperse them. In this turbulent sea, Lingdang was not scared, but giggled. Maybe this kind of bumps was very exciting. In the turbulent waves, Zhang Ziyi finally stabilized his body after 10 breaths. He stabilized, but it was a pity that it was pitch black around him. There was no one, and he didn't know where he went. "Daddy, keep shaking," Lingling said anxiously. "Shake your head." Zhang Ziyi hurriedly looked for people everywhere. Because the statue was destroyed, it was estimated that everyone was washed away. Suddenly, he felt a dangerous breath. Looking back, in the direction behind him, a black shadow spread from the bottom of the sea. "What is that?" Zhang Ziyi and Lingling were stunned. The black shadow expanded from the depths of the sea at a terrifying speed, almost instantly reaching Zhang Ziyi's eyes and swallowing him in. It turned out to be a kind of black fog. This black fog actually forced the sea water away and expanded rapidly in the ocean. After swallowing Zhang Ziyi, it was unknown how far it expanded. Zhang Ziyi only knew that he was now trapped by the black fog. It was difficult for him to move in the entanglement of the black fog, and the range of the black fog was unknown. No matter where he and Lingling moved, there was black fog everywhere, and there was no sea water. Dark, scary. Lingling looked around worriedly. "It's okay." Zhang Ziyi patted his back and took a closer look. After a while, the fog began to transform from gas to solid. Around him, it condensed into walls, trapping him in it. At this time, the gaseous black fog had completely disappeared. Zhang Ziyi was in a black passage. The diameter of the passage was about 30 feet. Some places were wide and some places were narrow. It felt like the intestines of an animal, with 9 twists and 18 turns. Zhang Ziyi tried it. With his strength and the sword of the magic eye, he couldn't split the black wall of the passage. He walked forward in this passage and found that several passages were immediately divided in front of him. The passages were connected to each other, endless, and there was no end at all. It was like a maze. It's like an ant's nest, with many connections. That's right, this place gave Zhang Ziyi the feeling of an ant's nest. The key is that he couldn't get out at all. When he found that he couldn't split the wall of the passage, he could only walk around, but found that there were passages everywhere, connected to each other, and there was no end at all. "It feels like I'll be trapped here for the rest of my life. What on earth is this place?" Zhang Ziyi was a little confused. He recalled. First, they broke the statue. Then, the sea water rioted and blew them away. Then, somewhere, Black fog began to spread, like a monster growing up and forcing the seawater away. Then, the black fog just now began to condense into a solid, forming an ant nest of unknown size. He asked Lingling to try to transfer instantly, but every time he transferred, he was still in the ant nest and couldn't get out at all. Could it be that this place is the place that the people of the Tianlong Holy Dynasty want to open? Then maybe what they want is in it. Zhang Zizhe looked ahead, and when his mind was more stable, his goal was also clear. I guess they are all trapped inside. The most urgent thing is to find them first. He began to move forward aimlessly in this ant nest. There are forks everywhere, and it doesn't matter which way you go. However, Zhang Zizhe was still very cautious, because who knows what ghosts there will be in this place besides other people. The history of this place is unknown. What he didn't expect was that the changes in this place would be more shocking when seen from the outside. At that moment, a black light rushed into the sky from the edge of the East China Sea, covering the sun for half a day, like a ghost, shrouding the sun, looking like the sun was wearing a hat. Many people saw that the black light came from the East China Sea. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 509. There is black air in the East China Sea, which rises to the blue sky and dyes half of the sun black. Such an ancient and grand event can be seen clearly by the entire origin continent. For a time, the whole world was shocked. Various rumors and prophecies began to fill the world, and some even said that this was a sign of doomsday. Rumor has it that because people have done too many evil things, the ancient gods are angry and intend to bring divine punishment to the world, exterminate the human race, and allow the origin beast to regain control of the world. These legends can incite the masses and cause panic, but the powerful will not believe them. The truly courageous people have already put down what they are doing and headed towards the East China Sea with all their strength. Tens of thousands of people, like crucian carp crossing the river, headed for the East China Sea. As the top powers, the Origin Shen sect and Yuan Shiming Palace are naturally no exception. Sky Island moved to an area near the eastern part of the Origin continent. On this day, the black air surged into the sky and wrapped around the scorching Sunday. The Sky Island could be seen particularly clearly. The secret order of the first god, the powerful ones above the holy god attendant, quickly gathered at the Origin altar. The number of people soon expired, and Yishan, the ancient god's son, also arrived, with Tianyi next to him. Feng Xiaoao, the servant of the holy god, also brought Feng Xiaoxiao, the top genius of Shenzong today, here. The 5 major palace masters of Shenzong also began to gather. The new head of Tianshen Palace is named Li Yinhe. He is a silver-haired middle-aged man. He was previously the strongest holy god attendant in Tianshen Palace. He has been competing with Tianyi, the master of Tianshen Palace, for many years, but he was only slightly inferior every time. After Tianyi's death, he would naturally become the new lord of the Heavenly God Palace and command the Heavenly God Palace. In the Beast God Palace, the leader of the Beast God Palace originally abdicated, but for some unknown reason, it is said that the first god asked him to serve for a few more years until there were holy god servants in the Beast God Palace reaching the strength level of the palace owner. Shenzong, most of the top personnel have arrived. Xuanhuan Chushan suddenly appeared, still aloof, and his appearance was unparalleled in the world. Everyone wanted to know what the changes in the sky were about. The first god of Xuanhuan appeared and said, "To the east of the East China Sea, there are incredible changes. There may be disasters coming to the world. Come with me and explore the truth." Hearing that there might be a disaster, everyone was more cautious. The origin was controlled by the master of the Beast God Palace. Everyone boarded the ship and headed towards the east of the East China Sea as quickly as possible. There will be a lot of people going that way, and we have to speed up and get ahead of everyone else. Their guess was good. Almost at the same time as they set off, a large number of strong men were heading east in the direction of Yuanxi Underworld Palace. Within the Life and Death Talisman sect. As soon as the old talisman master saw the scorching sun that was half covered, a talisman flew into his hand. Zhou Yuan, Yan Xiao, all Fu High generals and above, follow me to the East China Sea. For a time, almost all the powerful people in the origin continent gathered towards the eastern part of the East China Sea. This was something Zhang Zizai never expected. He is now trapped in this ant nest and has been walking for a long time without any way out. It was empty inside, and the passages were wide and narrow. In the narrowest place, only the bell could get through. The trouble is, no one else has been found yet, which means that the ant nest is bigger than he imagined. Otherwise, there are dozens of people in total, and he should have encountered it long ago. He looked at the inner wall of the passage. There were some black fluff on it. To be honest, it really felt like the intestines of some kind of beast. "Dad, when can we leave here?" Lingdang was a little anxious after staying here for a long time. "It's not easy. I'll let you go to the evolutionary world first." Zhang Zizai decided that it would be no problem to open the door to the evolutionary world here. "No, I want to protect Daddy," Lingdang said seriously. Zhang Zizai was very moved, and even though she was crying, he still twisted her into the evolutionary world. This is a dangerous place, and he doesn't want Belle to take risks with him. "Dad, you must want to meet that woman by chance. You are worried that Lingdang will hinder you from picking up girls," Lingdang said unwillingly. "Zhang Zizai has a headache. Why is he so big? By sending her back, it would be easier for him to move around without too many worries." At this moment, I felt some movement ahead. He continued to move forward, and suddenly felt that the front was very hot, as if something was coming towards this direction. In an instant, a black flame surged from the passage ahead. The flame was hot and fierce, giving Zhang Zizai a very dangerous feeling. Already in his mind, he quickly fled back with 8 steps of soul-chasing lightning, but at his speed, he still couldn't get rid of the surging flames. What kind of fire is this? Before he even got close, the skin on his back was almost cracked. Just before being engulfed, fortunately, there were several forks in front of him. He was lucky. After entering one of the passages, the flames did not follow him, but left through another passage. What a risk! It seems that there is still danger here. Fortunately, the bell left just now. After his judgment, if he was entangled by the kind of flames just now, he would probably be burned to ashes. During the next step forward, Zhang Zizai also encountered a green sword wind. The sword wind was even more terrifying. It crowded the entire passage and there was no place to hide. Zhang Zizai used the life-saving talisman given to him by Tianya. He was able to escape, but there are not many such shield talismans left. Why haven't I met anyone else yet? Are they not inside? Zhang Zizai was a little confused. He remembered that he came here because of the black fog. If Ye Dongyang and the others could avoid the black fog, they might not have come in. This chapter is not over yet, please click the next page to continue reading. So it is possible that he is the only one in here? No matter how you think, it is actually a guess. He tried to mark the passage he had walked through, but he found that no matter how long he marked it, he never returned to the passage he had walked through. This shows that this place is even bigger than he imagined. In fact, he didn't know that standing outside, a black cocoon stretched out from the seabed to the surface of the sea, infinitely huge and endless, just like a huge black land, lying across the East China Sea. This giant cocoon was even beating, like a heart. As long as you come to the East China Sea and walk east, it is easy to find this place. And there are a lot of holes on it, you can go in directly. But even if there are so many holes to come out, Zhang Zizai didn't find one. But at this time, he finally saw a figure in front of him. It was a graceful woman. The two of them just came to this passage from other passages, and suddenly, they met each other. Zhang Zizai, how come you are here? The other party was slightly shocked and looked at him in disbelief. He was still caught. I saw your whereabouts were strange, so I followed you since he was discovered, he was directly honest. Shen Xiao looked at him and said, this is not what a gentleman does. I have never been a gentleman. Okay, I don't bother to care about you. She pursed her lips and turned away. This place is very strange, don't you follow the same path? Shen Xiao responded with a crisp word. No. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 510. No. Seeing her leaving so resolutely, it seems that she really has no intention of going with Zhang Zizai. You know, judging from the current experience, this ant nest is a very dangerous place. It's not easy to meet each other. If you help each other, you will have more ability to save your life. She left so cleanly, probably for only one reason, that is, she didn't want Zhang Zizai to know the secrets here. Zhang Zizai was confused about this place, but she was not necessarily. It seems that although the two have a good friend relationship, she naturally can't share her information with Zhang Zizai on such an important matter. Because of this, Zhang Zizai became even more curious. He dodged and stopped in front of Shen Xiao in a blink of an eye. He said with a smile, don't leave in a hurry. I don't think that such a closed environment, with a man and a woman alone, and dangers everywhere, is a good environment for falling in love and cultivating relationships. Shen Xiao chuckled and said, you already have children, so don't tease me. I'm not interested in married people. I don't want to be a concubine. In the darkness, her smile was like a flower, her eyes were soft, and she was quite playful. When she said this, Zhang Zizai couldn't help it. He said, I can't control this. Anyway, I will pester you today. Who made you look better than before? Does it look better? Sure enough, women like to hear such words, but it was a bit difficult for her to answer the next sentence. She asked, how does it compare with the 9 Immortals priest? Each one has his own merits, Zhang Zizai said, risking being beaten by the 9 Immortals. I'm not satisfied with this answer. She turned back and was about to go in another direction, but Zhang Zizai still stopped in front of her. I'm very curious about this place. Tell me about it, Zhang Zizai said. Isn't this your real purpose? Shen Xiao asked with a smile. It would be even better if I could walk side by side with you and you were willing to tell me, Zhang Zizai said. That's impossible. You and I are not in the same camp. I have to be responsible for the holy dynasty. Shen Xiao's tone was light, but in fact she was very determined. In this regard, she would never back down. Then I can only follow you with a rotten face, Zhang Zizai said. This is not your inherent style. You are a rogue. Shen Xiao smiled. It seems that after experiencing some things, her temperament is a little unfathomable now, because it is difficult to see what she is thinking. When she left, Zhang Zizai continued to follow. He thought that he needed to figure out the specific situation here as soon as possible and could not be a headless fly all the time. After following him for a quarter of an hour, Shen Xiao looked back at him helplessly and said, Brother Zizai, you are not a child anymore. You can't always play tricks. If you really have to, I'll give you away. I didn't expect her to call me like this. This call really made me feel numb all over. What's the method? Go ahead. If you can defeat me, I'll tell you the secret here, Shen Xiao said. Is there such a good thing? What if I lose? Pass on the Wuxianfu to me, she said. Damn, you have a big appetite. Zhang Zizai found that women's hearts are like needles in the sea, and they directly set their eyes on the Wuxianfu. Why, Brother Zizai doesn't dare. There was a provocative meaning in her eyes. If she bowed her head, it would be too loose. That's not the case. Do you know that if I lose the Wuxian Fu, I will become a sinner of the life and death Fu sect? You have only been in the Fu sect for a few days. Can you have any feelings? Shen Xiao asked with a smile. Of course there is affection. They have been very kind to me. I am not afraid of you, but I feel that the conditions are not equal. In addition to telling me the secrets here, you have to agree to one condition of mine, Zhang Zizai said seriously. What condition? Zhang Zizai looked around and confirmed that Ling Dang was not here. He said sneakily, give me a kiss, the kind that you want to hold onto for a quarter of an hour. You, Shen Xiao blushed and looked at Zhang Zizai speechlessly. She thought it would be a difficult condition, but she didn't expect it to be such an incredible request. Well, don't be surprised. It's mainly because Ling Dang's mother has been away for too long and hasn't touched a beautiful woman for too long. It's a bit abrupt, Zhang Zizai said. It's okay. You may not win, and I won't lose much, she quickly agreed, but her eyes were a little suspicious. In her eyes, Zhang Zizai would not be such a scumbag. Meaning, she agreed to this condition. In fact, Zhang Zizai had never thought of fighting with her, but now there was no way. He had to figure out what was going on here. Many years later, they met in this ant nest. After the bet was established, the fighting spirit between the two surged again, as if they had returned to the day of the 6 prefectures grand meeting. Brother Zizai, I lost to you that year. For so many years, you have always been my goal. For today, I have paid too much. I have experienced more than a dozen life and death situations. Now that I have survived the disaster, I want to prove to you that I have never been worse than you. There was a flame gradually burning in her eyes, which could not be concealed at all. It seems that after she met Zhang Zizai again, she had already had a surging war in her heart, but she just didn't show it. Zhang Zizai felt that she had changed because she learned to hide her thoughts. In the past, she was really straightforward, not as unpredictable as she is today. As a girl, you should just take care of your husband and children, don't work so hard, Zhang Zizai said with a smile. I didn't expect Brother Zizai to be so shallow. This sentence disappointed me. Shen Xiao shook his head. I was just teasing you. Haha, you don't know how much I admire you. As a man, I want to be protected by you. How comfortable it is. Zhang Zizai said with a smile. You are still like this, not serious. When she said this, her momentum suddenly increased, and the momentum was magnificent. The golden flame began to burn around her, making her look like a female war god. Ding! In her palm, there was suddenly a golden spear. The spear was like a golden fire dragon, with dense golden totem patterns. It was a top-level totem weapon. Holding this spear was like holding a dragon in battle. After holding the spear, her momentum suddenly became solemn and sharp. In the right hand was a spear, and in the left hand, there suddenly appeared a golden shield. It was a shield with a dragon face carved on it, with flames burning on it. It looked very visually impactful, as if being stared at by a giant beast. Shen Xiao held the golden spear and shield. In this instant, she was like a female war god from the divine realm, holy and domineering, with a powerful aura.